Hey Canelo, if the WBC asks you to either fight Golovkin next or give up the belt, what do you do?
I'm ready.
You ready? So we're gonna see Golovkin in May or what?
I'm ready.
There it is.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? If you guys remember, it wasn't too long ago that Canelo Alvarez, he vacated his belt. He came out with a statement. He said how he was going to kick Golovkin's ass and he's going to fight him this year. In September, Team Canelo said that they were negotiating with Gennady Golovkin to once again fight them this year. They said that the only reason, or Canelo said the only reason he gave up his belt is because he wasn't going to be obligated to any artificial deadlines. Well, to put it lightly, we found out only a couple of days later that what Canelo said was untruthful. Because Golovkin's promoter, Tom Loeffler, he came out and confessed that Team Canelo, they had not been forthcoming at all and hadn't negotiated at all for a fight this year. Then you fast forward, after we find out that Canelo is not fighting Golovkin this year, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions, they issue out a tweet that basically said Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez have agreed to a mega fight in 2017. And just like the statement that Canelo issued when he said that he was going to kick Golovkin's ass this year, once again, according to FightNews.com, Team Golovkin, they said, quote, "There is no verbal agreement. Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya has misstated what has taken place," end quote. So obviously, you know, this was not going to come as a surprise to me. I tell you guys all the time, the truth will always come to light. This is a situation where this was obvious that Canelo wasn't going to fight Gennady Golovkin next year. We didn't even need Team Golovkin to confirm this. Because when you want to make a mega fight and you are willing to do whatever it takes to make that fight, 9 times out of 10, parties are going to agree to fight each other right now. They're going to either start negotiating now or they're going to negotiate and even sign a contract now if both parties really want to make the fight. And I can give you tons of examples. If Canelo really wanted to fight Gennady Golovkin, he would be doing the same thing that Chris Eubank Jr. is doing right now. Chris Eubank Jr., he has to actually defend his title this weekend, but he is already negotiating with Team Golovkin to fight them next. That is what you do when you really want to make a mega fight. A better example is Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. Both Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, they agreed to a 3-fight deal. That means they would both fight 2 opponents and then they would face each other in the 3rd fight of the year. They signed a contract at the beginning of the year to face each other. That is what you really do when both parties want to make the fight come to fruition. When Floyd Mayweather and Diego Corrales fought, they had already signed a contract to fight each other, even though they had to beat their next opponent so that they could face each other. Oscar De La Hoya and Trinidad, they did the same thing. They both had to beat their opponent so that they could face each other next, but they had already agreed to fight each other before they fought their previous opponents. That is what you do, once again, when you really want to make this mega fight. You don't just say, you know what, we'll talk about it next year. No, it doesn't work that way. But we already know, once again, you know, once you tell one lie, it makes it very difficult for someone to believe you the next time you say something. Because the first lie was we're going to kick Golovkin's ass and we're going to fight him this year. I gave up the belt because I didn't want to be rushed in negotiations. That was the first lie. Now you're saying, oh, you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll talk about it. Well, yeah, we'll make the fight next year. Yeah. It's not making sense. You know, when I think about boxing, I think about those movies where some character, he was taught to believe something his whole life, just to find out it was all a big ass lie. That is how I feel when I witness the double standards and the hypocrisy every day in the sport of boxing. Because supposedly we were all taught to believe that if a fighter just cares about making his money and not fighting the best, you shouldn't like that guy. And you should discredit him at every single turn. And every opportunity you have to throw dirt on his name, you should do that to a person or a fighter that shares that kind of ideology. You know, I remember when I went to Missouri to shoot this documentary that I'm coming out with. It's #1 in the nation. Once again, still working on it. You guys are going to be seeing it sometime this year. But anyway, when I was out there in Missouri, all the kids that I asked, out of all of them, I would say at least 80% of them, all different races and nationalities, I asked all these kids who their favorite fighter was. And I would say about 70 to 75% of them picked Floyd Mayweather. Now, I remember asking this one little kid who his favorite fighter was. He said Floyd Mayweather. I remember there was a father who was actually listening to him say that. And I remember after the kid said it was Mayweather, I told everyone around me, I said, wow, that's pretty crazy. The majority of kids all said Floyd Mayweather, at least the majority of them. And I remember this father, he was happy to say, hey, well, not me, ask my son. My son, his favorite fighter is not Floyd Mayweather, right? So he said, ask my son. So I asked his son who his favorite fighter was. He said it was Arturo Gatti, right? Coincidentally, the guy that Floyd Mayweather demolished and looked his best against, stopping Arturo Gatti. Now, this was a little kid, and you could clearly, obviously tell that he was just repeating what he heard from his dad. So then the kid, he goes on to tell me, I don't like Floyd Mayweather because all he cares about is money. This is what this kid was taught to believe, right? Now here's the ironic part. Now when it comes to Canelo Alvarez not fighting Golovkin, not fighting Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo, not fighting even the best welterweight, Thurman, Porter winner, or whoever, when it comes to Canelo not facing any of the best competition in 3 different weight classes, you know how they defend him? They say, and I bullshit you not, because I see the comment all the time, and it's not just comments. I hear Canelo Alvarez fans say this in person. They say, hey man, let Canelo Alvarez make his money. Woohoo, let's go Canelo. Make your money, Canelo. That's what I'm talking about. This is what these same fans that said that they didn't like Floyd Mayweather because he cared about money, this is what they're now saying about Canelo Alvarez. And what's so crazy is I can't recall one single fan saying they don't want Mayweather to fight any of the best fighters. They just want to see Floyd Mayweather make his money. Does that make any sense at all to you guys? The hypocrisy is unbelievable, man. It is unbelievable. I will never forget the day I sat down with Oscar De La Hoya about a year ago and we did a roundtable with me and all the rest of the members of the media. And that whole interview with Oscar De La Hoya, it was dominated by media members. Matter of fact, this was way before the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight had even been agreed upon. This was way before they came close to an agreement or signing a contract. So that whole interview with Oscar De La Hoya, it was dominated by the majority of the reporters there accusing Floyd Mayweather of single-handedly destroying the sport of boxing by trying to protect his undefeated record by not fighting Manny Pacquiao. One reporter went so far as to say that until Floyd Mayweather came along, there had never been a fighter that was focused on basically protecting their record and taking the easy route, just constantly cherry picking. This is what a reporter actually said. I bullshit you not. The entire, at least 75% of that interview was reporter after reporter accusing Floyd Mayweather of destroying the sport of boxing by trying to protect his record and not fighting Manny Pacquiao. You fast forward to present day. Would it surprise you guys if I told you that not one of those reporters has said the same thing about Canelo Alvarez? Now keep in mind, Floyd Mayweather actually fought the guy they said he was afraid of. And Floyd Mayweather is considered the greatest fighter of our generation. He was pound for pound the best fighter in the world, undefeated. Now, even though Canelo Alvarez is damn near 15 years younger than Floyd, he's not considered pound for pound number one. He ain't even considered pound for pound top 10 outside of Ring Magazine, which is owned by Canelo's boss, Oscar De La Hoya. He's not a top 10 pound for pound fighter. He's certainly not a top 5 pound for pound fighter. With these reporters knowing all of this, they haven't wrote one article, they haven't done one interview saying the same things about Canelo that they said about Floyd Mayweather. Now, I can use many different fighters on a coincidental list as an example, but as we all know, usually the most hated fighter on the coincidental list is the most successful. That even applies outside of boxing. Usually the most successful man on the coincidental list is usually the most hated. You can even apply that to Al Heyman. Notice Al Heyman is the one receiving hate. They're not hating on 50 Cent because he's no longer a threat. It's not a coincidence that they don't hate James Kirkland, they don't hate Zab Judah, because he's not a threat anymore. Zab used to be a threat, Zab used to be a beast, but he's no longer a threat to being pound for pound the best fighter in the world. He's not a threat to Manny Pacquiao, Golovkin, Kovalev. He's not a threat to any of those guys. It's only the fighters that are at the top that are the most hated. The more successful you are, the more hated you are on the coincidental list. On top of that, when you're on the coincidental list, you always have to do 10 times better than the fighter that's not on the coincidental list. Let me give you a perfect example. Canelo Alvarez, he's been flexing, he's been saying he's ready, he's been saying he's going to kick Golovkin's ass. He said he invited Golovkin to the ring because he's going to fight him, etc., etc. He said all of these things, right? And do you guys notice every single time Canelo said he was going to fight Golovkin and he ended up fighting Amir Khan instead? Notice the media, they always came out with articles. Canelo, when he was fighting Amir Khan, there were tons of articles saying Canelo is getting ready to fight Golovkin the end of this year. Even though Canelo had never said that we're in serious negotiations, that's the fight I want next, even though he never came out and aggressively called out Golovkin the way Chris Eubank Jr. is, even though he never did that, writers and members of the media, commentators, they continue to back Canelo and say he is going to fight Golovkin. No matter how many times Canelo contradicted himself, there was always members of the media backing Canelo, saying he's going to fight Canelo this year. He's not going to give up his belt. He's going to fight Gennady Golovkin. Then once he gives up his belt, the media, they defend him, and they try to convince boxing fans that they're only vacating the belt so that they can negotiate longer, and he's still going to fight Golovkin this year. Then when we get a report finding out that he's not fighting Golovkin this year, Canelo, then there's all of these articles, and the headlines read, Canelo to fight Golovkin in 2017 in mega fight. Once again, even when Canelo doesn't say anything that indicates that this is damn near a 90% chance that this fight is going to happen, they still back him and try to mislead boxing fans by saying, oh yeah guys, Canelo's going to fight Golovkin. Now let me give you some contrast. Do you guys remember when Floyd Mayweather was walking across the basketball court and asking for Manny Pacquiao's phone number and actually calling him up and saying, Manny Pacquiao, we need to make this fight? When Floyd came over to Manny Pacquiao's hotel room and said, Manny, we need to make this fight? Do you know what these same reporters were saying when Floyd was doing that? They were saying that this fight still ain't gonna happen. That's what they said. This fight still ain't gonna happen. Floyd is not gonna fight Manny Pacquiao. The same reporters that have backed Canelo and said he's gonna fight Canelo this year in 2016. The same writers and commentators that said that Canelo's gonna fight Golovkin in 2017. These are the same people that said that even though Floyd was actually pushing for the fight, they still said he didn't want to fight Manny Pacquiao. Matter of fact, Boxing Ego has an interview with Jim Lampley. And this is, of course, once again, around the time that Mayweather was already talking to Manny Pacquiao on the phone. Boxing Ego asked Jim Lampley, what do you think about the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? You know what Jim Lampley said? He said that Mayweather is not going to fight Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather is going to fight Cotto in a rematch. He is not going to fight Manny Pacquiao. And the suggestion was obvious, that Floyd Mayweather was afraid to fight Manny Pacquiao, so he wasn't going to fight him. And then it was only, 2 months after that Jim Lampley interview, the fight is signed. He's fighting Manny Pacquiao. You know what Jim Lampley said then? Then Jim Lampley said that Floyd Mayweather is only picking him because Manny Pacquiao is old, etc., etc. Oh, so if he's picking him because he's old, how come when you were asked about the fight, how come you didn't say Mayweather's going to fight Pacquiao next because now Pacquiao is old? You see, that's that damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, where they have something negative to say regardless what you do. If you do what they say you're not going to do, then they still have something negative to say, right? But the point that I'm making is, once again, you see how aggressively Floyd Mayweather was calling out Manny Pacquiao, and they still called him the coward. But when Canelo Alvarez doesn't even put in effort to negotiate with Golovkin, the media is still saying, oh, he's going to fight him, guys. Don't worry. He is going to fight him. I put my whole house mortgage on that. He's going to fight him this year. When it came to Canelo Alvarez, the media and everyone else, all the decafs, because they're all in the same gang, they all kept saying, we need to build the fight. That's all Canelo is doing. He's just building the fight. He's building the fight, right? Even though they said he was going to fight Golovkin this year, then when they find out Canelo is not fighting Golovkin this year, Once again, more articles of Canelo building up the fight. But why is it when Andre Ward came off of a 2-year hiatus, right? Andre Ward signs a 3-fight deal with HBO to fight Sergey Kovalev. According to Andre Ward's trainer, HBO, they asked Andre Ward to move up to 175 and fight Sergey Kovalev. And Andre Ward, he did it. Andre Ward goes on HBO's Jim Lampley's TV show, and they interview Andre Ward soon as he agrees to fight Sergey Kovalev at the beginning of the year. Of course, this was at the beginning of the contract where he had to still fight 2 opponents before he would fight Sergey Kovalev. And I bullshit you not. You know what they had the nerve to ask Andre Ward soon as he signed this 3-fight contract? They asked Andre Ward, why isn't he fighting Sergey Kovalev now? Right after they accused Andre Ward of being so inactive, his first fight back, they asked Andre Ward, why isn't he fighting Sergey Kovalev right away? But when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, how come they haven't had Canelo Alvarez on Jim Lampley's show asking him, how come you're not fighting Golovkin now? How come not now, Canelo? And remember, Canelo has not been inactive. He didn't take off 2 years. Canelo has been very active, right? Very active, very young, but yet they don't have him on HBO asking him, why aren't you fighting Golovkin now? See, with Canelo, it is the contrary. They actually want Canelo Alvarez to either never fight Golovkin or wait until it's possibly too late. That's what they want when it comes to Canelo. But when you're on a coincidental list, they want you to be at a disadvantage. And they want the fighters that have their hope insurance to be at a massive advantage, not just a little advantage. They want them to be at a huge advantage. They want it to be a guarantee win every time out. They don't care how weak the opposition is. That's why they're okay with Canelo versus Liam Smith. So if you're scratching your head and you're saying, I don't get it, if they were pressuring Ward to fight Sergey Kovalev right away, why aren't they pressuring Canelo Alvarez? Why are they not asking Canelo why he's not fighting Golovkin, Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo, Julian Williams? Why aren't they asking him that on Jim Lampley's TV show? It's a rhetorical question. Because they all in the same game. Because Canelo Alvarez has his hope insurance. And all that we have been taught, that this is supposed to be about the best fighting the best, and if they don't fight the best, you put pressure on them to step up in competition. Why do you have to have 2 fights before you fight Kovalev? This is what we've been taught. But what we found out is that this was never about the best fighting the best. This is about keeping certain fighters winning and keeping all of the fighters on the coincidental list at a disadvantage. They tried to get us to believe that they cared about fighters protecting their records and all that kind of stuff. They don't care about a fighter protecting their records. They want Golovkin to protect his record. Do you know that if Golovkin fought the Dominic Wades, the Lemieux, and all of those fighters for the rest of his career, do you know that these type of people, they would prefer he fight them and continue winning than taking a chance of fighting an Andre Ward, a James DeGale, or even fighters at light heavyweight, wherever the danger is. They would actually prefer fighters like Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez to continue fighting competition that guarantees them a win, as opposed to being in harm's way and possibly losing, having an accident in the ring. But meanwhile, Andre Ward, he should fight Kovalev soon as he comes off his layoff. Why? So that Andre Ward can be at a disadvantage, so that he could go in the ring rusty and give Sergey Kovalev a better shot at beating him. We know what time it is. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.